I kept hearing about the metrics when I was applying, and people kept saying add metrics, and I just didn't know how to.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
coming from the teaching world, it was hard for me to find those metrics. But you showed me that I was able to do them in a lot of my points and a lot of,
Correct.
in all my past roles. So
So tell everybody, what are you doing now?
I am an advancement services coordinator at a private school on the main line in Philadelphia.
Wow, that is cool. What does that mean in English?
So I do a lot of things on the back end at a private school that deal with processing gifts that come in. I do things with database management and cleanup, updating constituents profiles, those kind of things.
It's pretty cool, really exciting, a whole new skill set for you.
Yes, for sure.
It's been really amazing. What are some of the really great things about your new job?
Well, the biggest thing is being thanked for little things. I came from the teaching world, and I feel like thanks weren't handed out as often as they are in this role. Um, I feel like I'm making a difference with the work I'm doing, whether it be doing research on new parents that are coming into the school and just finding out how much they're going to be able to donate and help to the school, or processing return mail that we've received. I've gone through an entire cabinet that's been piling up for years, and how appreciative to see how appreciative my team is has just been so impactful to me.
Isn't that amazing? To be like, I cleaned out this year's worth of backlog.
Yes.
Like your value, it was recognized pretty close to the very beginning of you starting out this job.
Yeah.
Okay, very different than where you were before, right? And I know that your schedule is better, your life is better.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I have a better work life balance. I do go to the office 5 days a week, but I feel like with your help, especially, I am good at planning for the week ahead, meal prepping, and knowing what workout I'm going to do when I get home, having a good sleep schedule, picking out my clothes at night, just being a lot more prepared for the days ahead.
That's nice. That's nice. What did you do? So what did you do before? I think we spilled the beans a little bit. You were a teacher. So what was life like before?
Yeah, so I was a teacher for the last 8 or so years, working in different schools, different grades, substituting here and there. So it was a lot more chaotic. Each summer, I was working as long-term subs each year. So each summer, it was kind of what am I going to be doing next year? So a lot of unknowns.
Stress
Yes.
and stress. So what made you decide that this was the time?
I was working in the same district for 3 years, and we got some new HR, and I just needed some change. They had implemented some things that I didn't agree with. I loved teaching, I loved the students, but I was just ready for a change. I was ready to do something else where I could make a difference.
I like that. I like that. Especially, we have to look at our lives and see where we want our lives to turn, not just I've been doing this forever, right? We want different things at different stages of our lives,
Right.
right? And our own growth and development. So what was the process like in looking for a job? Like before we met, and then how did we get started?
Yeah, so I had been working or looking for a job for the last year before you and I had met. So I decided not to go back to teaching. I nannied for a year. While I was nannying, I was applying for jobs, hundreds of jobs. I interviewed for some, but I just was never making it and getting anything solidified. And then I had followed you for a while, and I guess after a year, talking to my family, and my cousin had suggested, it's been a year. I think it's time that you put the money in and hire a career coach. I said, okay. So I reached
Not
out to a
that.
few. I knew I needed to make a change, but it was just, you know, setting aside that kind of money for something. It worked out in the long run, but I was a little bit skeptical in the beginning. Was it going to work out? Um, So I spoke to you and two other career coaches, and you were the most hands on, kick in the butt, tough love that I needed. We had our weekly sessions. I also was able to text you, call you when I needed you. And then you had the online modules for me to do in the weeks in between our sessions and then to go back to. So when I did end up getting an interview, you were like, okay, go back and review these modules, and having that extra
right? And then we'll
later
have
on
a session in
practice.
between so we can practice, but go and do the interview modules first, right? Go to modules 8
Right.
and 9 for first, and then we'll move a session so we can practice.
Yeah. And yeah, the ability for you to just move a session so I could prepare for my interview tomorrow was at the last minute was just awesome.
You know something? I just moved somebody's session like just before you because they just got an interview for something in 2 days from now. And we just moved a session to just before this so that we could practice for that interview, right? They can come fast and furious.
Yeah, and I feel like with this one especially, it was interview after interview after interview, and then getting the job the next day. It was so quick, and thankfully, with you being able to move things around, I was felt so much more prepared for the interviews.
Thank you. You got this job fast. It was like about a month, so a month, maybe a drop over a month that you got this job.
Yeah, it was very quick. I think at like our second session, I said to you that I was, a little hesitant, and you're like, it's only been a week. And I'm just the type of person that I want to see results quickly. So the fact that it had been a week and I wasn't getting anything, I was just a little hesitant, disappointed. But, I had to wait and trust the process. And here we are.
And then we had a lot of sessions after you had the job because we still had sessions left. So then we worked on a lot of stuff for your career development and setting up for success at that new job.
Right.
So, what would you say was most impactful in us working together?
I think taking the time to go through my resume and matching up to the job description. When I was applying previously, I had one generic resume. I would maybe add one or two things here and there and just submit it. But you really took the time to add those metrics. I was so hesitant I kept hearing about the metrics when I was applying, and people kept saying add metrics, and I just didn't know how to.
How?
Because
Yeah,
coming from the teaching world, it was hard for me to find those metrics. But you showed me that I was able to do them in a lot of my points and a lot of,
correct.
in all my past roles. So I think that was really helpful. Um, having those modules for me to go back and review, and those tips and the workbook to go through, having a lot of those things was really helpful.
Well, thank you. I am so proud of you. I know that you're going to be so successful in this position. What is your advice for anybody that is in the position that you were in, where they're thinking about leaving teaching or they've been looking for a job and it's not working out? What is your advice for them?
My biggest piece of advice and first piece of advice is to make a LinkedIn, because teachers don't need LinkedIns. So when
Correct.
I first made one, it was so foreign to me. And even when you and I spoke, you were like, your LinkedIn is not great.
We
And I
need
was
to
like,
change that, right? We need to change that was like right up front. We need to change that profile picture. We need to change the wallpaper, right? If you're trying to get out of the classroom, your LinkedIn profile cannot put you only in the classroom with small
right,
children.
right. So that was the number one thing. And then I think two is just finding ways to explain those skills that are transferable. So much of what I did as a teacher is transferable to so
Yes.
many other fields, but it's finding
Yes.
ways to explain that in a way that, when you're telling those stories in an interview, not telling them so student centered,
Correct.
finding ways to, tell them about that role. So that was really helpful in our conversations as well.
Thank you. Yes, I agree completely with that advice. Yes, you can't talk about a time that you had a problem or a conflict and only talk about that with the students. You have to expand and be able to talk about that with the adults. And teachers have so much adult interaction.
Right.
Okay, just forgetting it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure working with you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy it happened so fast too, right? Like I know you thought 1 week wasn't enough, but you got it in about a month. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, it was very fast. It was very quick. And, I didn't apply to that many either. I think you and I had maybe worked on 4 resume
It
cover
was only,
letters,
yeah, it was only a few of them.
and then I applied to a few more on my own using what I had learned, but this one worked out.
It absolutely did. Well, best of luck to you. They are so lucky to have you.